Hi, in a previous video, I gave my first impressions of the Creality Falcon 10-watt laser and also the Lightburn software. Um, I showed some of the things I made with it, and it's kind of cool that you can get all the clip art you want by just typing in free clip art and uh, Googling for whatever you want. And it's pretty fun to do that, and you can put put it how you want it on to, and then use it for either engraving or outlining it and cutting it out like we've done on some of our other stuff. So in the Lightburn software, I showed the beginnings of that, but let's go over to the Lightburn software. I'll show you a problem that I ended up having. So this is a typical one that I was making for my uh, children and grandchildren, and um, the pumpkins and everything. That's going to be like a image that you're just going to raster scan with the laser and uh, burn it in. And as opposed to this leaf, it's more of a SGV file where it's just the laser follows a line, doesn't raster scan it. But that's beside the point. So, I mean, the thing is with the clip arts, you can turn it, Lightburn will let you turn it into SGV and do the pull out lines. That does a pretty good job of that. But a lot of times you just want a image that you do. So I've brought these couple of images, the same image in, but you see you can bring this in, and you could actually, like I said, work it in here, and they have tools for making an outline around it so that you can outline it like we did the pumpkins up here and everything. So you can mount it there and do that, and that's the right way of doing it. But when I first found this image, I brought it in, and it was a JPEG. So what's wrong with that? You can see that it doesn't have the transparent background and everything. So you can go to Inkscape or GIMP or any other well established graphics program and key in all the menu items to get your uh, image clicked over. Some of them are easier than others, but I thought to myself, um, how about if we put some of Paul McWhorter's great teachings to work and see if I can create a Python script for doing that. So I said, let's give it a shot. So we'll go to the code. So this is actually Paul had taught us OpenCV a while back, and so I thought I already know that. I'm sure there's probably other packages. I think Pillow probably would do it for you as well, but um, I knew OpenCV and knew how to work with the images in there, so I said, well, let's just do that. So all we're doing is reading in the image. This is all hard coded in here. You hard code the image in here, and then what we wanted to do is to get that transparent background. You got to give it an alpha or transparency element to your uh, image. So you go from just like a BGR is what they do. So we just did BGR with alpha, and we just converted it to that, and just make that. And then we get the shape of the image that gives us our height and width. And so we use the height and width, and we just loop through each row and each column. or each pixel on each row, and loop through that. And what we're doing is we're looking at each pixel and seeing what the first three are, the B, G, and R. And if all three of them, we got and, so if all three of them, let me move myself out of the way. If all three of them are greater than this threshold value, so we just have this hard code up here, 200. If it's greater than the threshold, then what we do is the fourth item on there, the A, which is the third index, 0, 1, 2, 3. Our fourth index is we're making our transparency 0, which means it's transparent, so it's not going to show anything at all. So that's all we did. And then we're only updating this if we get one that's mostly white in this case. So and then at the end we're taking that image BGRA, the alpha with the alpha channel in it, and just saving it as a PNG file. PNGs, take the alpha. And that's where most of your PNGs will have transparent backgrounds if they'll have the ability to have them anyhow. And we're just writing it out into a file, hard coded in again. So it's kind of cool that, like I said, we got, what, dozen lines of code and doing what we want to. But thing is that, like I said, you got to find this image that you want to work with. So the easiest way is just to put them in our Python folder over here. So you got to go to your File Explorer, get it over to your Python folder, and that way it's easy to find. And then we're just saving it right back into the Python folder. And then you got to go back to your File Explorer, pull it out, and make it available to your code, to your Lightburn software. But it worked. But each time you change this threshold up here, once you get your file and everything, you don't know what you're getting until you look at it. So you have to bring it up each time and look at it. Actually, the Visual Studio Code lets you do this a little bit easier. I think I got my leaves in here. I think leaves CV2 PNG. So I've run this already. So you should be able to bring this up. That's what it ends up being. Think that we started out with this. So that's what we started out with a white background. And ended up with this after running it through that thing. It's fairly fast. I mean, there's a noticeable delay. I think it's probably half a second or something it takes to run through these codes. Of course, the bigger your file is, the bigger your, longer it's going to take to go through the pixels. And so if you had a big file, you probably going to have to resize it or whatever. So anyhow, that's what we got going on there. But after I got that done, I said, well, we really want to take it and we can do better and make it into a workable application. So we'll get to that in a second. Got this one here. And so it ended up being 63 lines of code by the time you do our GUI part. And then, like I say, when you get your files, you got to make sure you get your files and when you're displaying them. So we'll go through the code after we go ahead and run this one time. So we can run this. I don't know where I'm going to, I think I'm like, well, I'll just be down here, I guess. So you bring this up, and I also, something that we did, took a little bit longer. sometimes you have a black background image that you want to change, so we had to do that, but we'll start off with a white background image. So with the PySimple GUI, we're able to look at it and let's see. I forget which one's which. Let's see. This is a JPEG. So we'll look at this one and open it up. I think it's the same image actually, but that's okay. We'll make it a good show. So anyhow, so you can see now we got the image and it brings up the same image in original and updated. I got two versions of it here. And the only thing we do is we have a scroll bar here that we scroll and I got it so that it updates that it changes 5 pixels every time it moves, or a value of 5 every time it moves. So we can start decreasing this, and you can see if you were able to, if I had a bigger view of this, you could see that there's actually like a shadow or something on here, and that's the first thing that comes off. And then you got some noise in there still. And you keep going, keep going, keep going. And you say it all depends on how much of that white you want to get out of the images. Like I said, I had 200, so this would be the same as what we had on the other one. But if you keep on going down, you're eventually going to get rid of the image. Almost all the image is gone. So you can slide this, but like I say, it's not real smooth because it, it takes a while for each processing to happen and works on it. So anyhow, that's what we got there, and then we can save it. We're going to be able to save our updated file. So you run a thing, and I'll call this VID IMG video image, and it's automatically going to save it as a PNG. So it's saved. Should be able to go into my downloads, I think. And here it is, video image. And bring it up in whatever program. And there it is. So we can use it. It's already available to our Lightburn or whatever we want to use it on. So anyhow, so that's that. So then, like I said, we can also switch over to the black background. So let's go ahead. I think I got an image here with a black background. Okay. All right. So this one actually has a black background to it, and you can't hardly see it, but there's actually a watermark in there. And we're kind of able to get rid of that as well because it's close to black. So we're going to say black background. If you see our scroll bar, when we move this over, our scroll bar to switch to here. Also, the image background, we're also able to change that. Like if you noticed when we were on the white, the image background was black. So now when we're getting rid of the black, the image background is going to be white. So we can click up and see how we do. So you can see that we took away most of the 000 or up to 5. I guess that's a watermark. I'm not really sure what that was in there, but if we go, we can get rid of it without getting rid of too much of our detail. There we go. So we still got our stems on our leaves and everything. But if we keep going, some of those darker stems will get out of there. So you can see that they're starting to disappear and turn white. So we don't want to do that. I mean, it might actually be a cool effect for the laser, but all we want to do is get rid of the background. We probably wanted something like this. So anyhow, we'll go ahead. I'm not going to save this one. We'll go ahead and exit out of program. And just look at the code real quick. Like I said, this is all the PySimple GUI stuff here. We're creating our layout. The images aren't too much harder, but you know, it took what, from 8 to 18, 10 lines of code to make our layout. So that wasn't too bad. Got a couple radio buttons on there for the whether we want white or black. Got the slider and then a couple buttons down here is all we got. And, a lot of some of this image stuff up here is because we were wanting to put it in frames. That way, the smaller images don't make your window size really go down. And you know, if you didn't, without the frames in there, the whole window would shrink and grow as you're doing it. And then if you noticed up here, I had never worked with this IM utils. I guess that's image utilities. But I was looking for a way to resize without me having to tell it what percentage, because OpenCV just says, you know, you can resize it by a certain percentage, where this IM utils has a resize, and you tell it what the maximum that you want it, the width to be 640 or less. And since I wanted a 640 by 360, I wanted it to fit in that frame. I just did a if it's greater than 640 here, then we're going to resize it. And if the height is greater than 360, we're also going to resize it. Because you could actually, I think that square frame that we had was actually like 500 by 500. So the width was fine, but the height was wrong. So it took it down to 360, and it maintains the aspect ratio. So you got the 360 by 360. Of course, you're resizing this image. I mean, like I say, if you brought a 3000 by 3000 in here, you would resize it down to that. But a lot of our clip art, and you know, it's fine for the laser by resizing it down to 360, you know, or whatever. So, because most time when I take it in the light burn, I'm always shrinking them down more anyhow. So I guess it could be an issue if you wanted to do a 18-inch by 18-inch portrait of somebody. That might be a problem, but you're probably going to want to make sure you got a good image for doing that. So you'd already make it a PNG, so that wouldn't be a problem. So let me keep moving myself out of the way here. So like I said, that's where we're adjusting the image if we need to. This is where we show the image, update the images on the, put the images into our image frames. Like I say, got some Boolean variables in here so that, you know, you're not trying to save an image that's not there, or you're not trying to adjust if you don't have an image yet, the first image yet. You don't want to try to, you know, adjust your scroll bar and have it have anything to change. So causes error. So you have to have some Boolean variables just to set where you're at on your thing. So you can see we've got this got image. So our scroll bar only gets event if it also got image is true. So both of these have to do it before it's going to do anything here. So this is actually the same program that we did. This first part here is looping through, and this is going from, this is if it's on the white radio button, then it's looking for a threshold that's greater than closer to 255 than whatever the threshold is. And our threshold is what's created by our radio button. So that's where we're getting that information. You see up here, we're doing whatever the scroll bar is. We're just saving that as a threshold value. Probably could have used, oh, I know why, because it needs to be an int, and the scroll bar gives out a float, so you need to be int on those numbers, so that's why I did it up there. And then, like I said, on the black side, if we're trying that, it's how close to 0 they are. So if the value of your pixel, the RG, the B, G, and R is less than the threshold, then you're doing it. So that's the same code we had there. And then that second window, the updated window, gets changed every time the scroll bar moves a little bit. It goes ahead and does all these calculations and runs it through. I got transparent image here is what it's saying, that once we actually are working with a transparent image, then you're actually able to try to save it if you wanted to, if you got something that you want. That way you're not trying to save something that you don't have, so run into errors that way. Got that. And then we're using our pop-up get file thing like I showed. And then all that returns the file path, and then we can IM write the file path and what we're putting in there. Like I said, when you radio buttons, we're updating the value of the scroll bar, and we're also changing from the background of the image from black to white, depending on the opposite of whatever color you're trying to get rid of, so that you have a good contrast for doing that. And otherwise, that's it. So thought that was a nice little thing to do with all my knowledge that we get from Paul and over the last year and a half, 2 years, and put it to use. I guess the next thing might be to turn it into application. So the computer that we're sharing with the Lightburn software, like I said, that's a third computer, and I don't think I have Python on it. It may be on there, but if it doesn't, probably try to put it into change it into an executable file so that we can put it on a machine to run without having Python on it. And I'll probably put a link to these two codes, the base code and the other code here on the up on the GitHub. Of course, you'll need to make sure, if you haven't been following along with Paul's lessons, or what I've been doing, you'll need to make sure you have these modules installed. The utilities is a pip install, PySimple GUI is a pip install, but I think we had to go through a couple of things to get the OpenCV installed. So you can go back to Paul's videos to look at it. I'll probably link to his channel as well in the video. All right, well, that's all I got today. Longer than I thought it was going to be, but it's a good way to show off a little bit, I guess. Thanks for watching.